What's up, guys? This is Laser Monkey. Welcome back. And today I have 5 events that I'm practicing. These are my 5 favorite events right now. These are the events that I'm enjoying the most and practicing the most. And historically, I've focused on just a few events. And for the first 3 or 4 years of my speed cubing career, I focused pretty much solely on 3x3 and didn't really look at any of these other events. I didn't practice them much. And only in the past year or so have I expanded to other events. And I think it's very important to have a diverse number of events that you're really passionate about and are practicing. And also have some events that you don't practice as much and just break your PBs every time you go to a competition. I think it's important to have both because sometimes when you're only practicing 3x3 and say you don't break your 3x3 PB in the 2 rounds or 3 rounds of 3x3 you have, it can be really demotivating to not break a PB at a competition. But if you have like 5, 6 events that you're really practicing, maybe even just 3, and you have 2 of those at a competition, and you're much more likely to break one of your records. And I think breaking records after lots of hard work is really the most rewarding thing, in my opinion, in speed cubing. So these events have changed over time, and I'm just going to give you what are my top 5 events right now. The order of these isn't super set in stone, but I just put these in an order. So based on roughly how much I like them. So coming in at number 5 is 3x3 one-handed. I've been using the GAN Air SM for this, the Cubicle edition. I just really love one-handed just because I can do it while I'm doing other things. You know, like turning the cube one-handed is really satisfying for some reason. And especially with the SM, I feel like this cube is so fast and yet so stable and controllable that I can really turn well one-handed on this. My one-handed TPS is pretty horrible, but my 3x3 F2L look ahead really helps with one-handed. And I've been practicing a lot of one-handed lately, trying to get my time down. So I'm excited to go to a competition and, get to some more one-handed practice because I do have a lot of room for improvement on this event. And so coming in at number 4 is Megaminx. Megaminx used to be one of my favorite events. Now it's fallen down a little bit. I haven't been practicing it as much, but I think that the feel of this cube is just super satisfying. I love the dodecahedron shape, and especially this is my main, the Cubicle Galaxy M, which is a fantastic cube. I've really just enjoyed Megaminx. It's kind of like F2L, but you get to do F2L like a million times, and I just love F2L. So I really like Megaminx because it's mostly F2L. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think Megaminx is a really good puzzle. Every time you solve it, you just learn new things. It's so much bigger, so you really have to have an increased spatial awareness of the different pieces, and you have to focus on so many more things at once. I really love that about Megaminx. And coming in at number 3 is 5x5 for me. Similar to Megaminx, I think that every time you solve this is a very good puzzle. Stuff like 3x3, it's less of a puzzle, it's more of just focus and execution. Whereas this one, you really have to be creative in centers and edges. And I find that every time I solve this, I learn something new and I discover some new technique. And especially with the cube I'm using, which is the Cubicle Wushuang M, it makes 5x5 practice really enjoyable. So yeah, I really like 5x5, especially stuff like when you're doing free slice edges. I just love free slicing for some reason. I just love the chaos, and then it suddenly resolves itself in a few moves from complete chaos. So I really enjoy that about 5x5. But the reason it's not as high as my next thing is 4x4. I like 4x4 better because it takes a little bit less time. I find that 5x5 is a little bit too long. And I really like the speed of 4x4. And I just like how simple it is and yet how seemingly difficult it is to improve. I really like about 4x4 that you have to be so incredibly efficient. Like, you can't make mistakes where you're trying to insert an edge and you kind of do it in a less efficient way like this or something, you really have to be completely efficient on 4x4 and recognize everything immediately, because those inaccuracies, those slight inefficiencies have a very major effect on the solve. So if your solve isn't as efficient as it can possibly be, your solve just isn't great. And especially with the cube I'm using, which is the Cubical Wuchuei M, this is a really great cube, and I think magnetic 4x4 has really made me love 4x4 even more. And yeah, this does have to be looped quite often, as it does sometimes slow down, but I really like 4x4 because it's kind of like 5x5 except simpler, and you really have to focus on efficiency, and I really like that. And my number one event, as you probably guessed, is the 3x3. I love 3x3. It's just the classic. It's the best-selling toy of all time. It's got wide appeal, and it's fast enough that you can do a lot of solves, and I can focus on just small improvements in efficiency and turning speed and reducing small errors in my execution. But it's not so fast that it's completely scramble dependent. Every solve is still very dependent on my ability to find a good cross solution and focus throughout the solve and maintain that focus and awareness of the pieces, and make sure that I'm looking all around. And I'm using the Cubical Ganair SM. This cube has actually made me love 3x3 even more. I just love this cube so much, and it's going to be really challenging for another cube to surpass it, but I'm sure GAN will come out with something that's even better. But yeah, 3x3 is just a classic. I don't have to say much else. I've been practicing it for 5 years. It's been the cube that I've practiced by far the most. I've probably practiced this about 1,000 times more than any of these other events. So yeah, I am still practicing a lot of 3x3 today. My times are still getting better. I'm still improving, which is great. And I love breaking records in competitions. So yeah, that is about it for my top 5 favorite WCA events. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. I know it's a little bit long, so thank you. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. This is Laser Monkey. Out.